Welcome to the Vegas Insider YouTube channel. It's time for another edition of 5 Questions, and this time I welcome to the channel Mr. Patrick Everson, our brand new senior reporter for Vegas Insider. Patrick, welcome to the team. How's it going, man?
It's going well, and I'm grateful to be on board. I think we're going to have some fun with a whole lot of interesting content. I certainly hope so, and even some stuff that I think is going to be really unexpected. And so we won't even divulge that right here. Not even close. We got to wait on some stuff.
Speaking of expectations, Patrick, I'm going to hit you with the first question here. What can Vegas Insider viewers expect from you on a daily basis?
Well, I think what you'll see is more content. I mean, obviously, Vegas Insider has got a long-standing good reputation with connecting with the sports betting community. But a lot of that has been on the, on the advice side and really good stuff. On the advice side, perhaps the picks side, if you like the picks packages and so forth. One thing that I believe I was brought on to do is bring in more content from how games are being bet, why lines are moving, where the action is, perhaps what the books need for especially for a lot of casual bettors, and maybe even for some of the less than casual bettors, the more serious bettors. Who the book needs is an important component of how they decide how they want to spend their betting dollars. So I'll be bringing a lot of that kind of content. I've got a lot of resources, a lot of good contacts behind the counters at sportsbooks, not only here in Las Vegas. By the way, I am here in Las Vegas. This is where I live, but across the country. And in some cases, with the World Cup coming up and so forth, even around the world, I've got some great sources at a couple of different books in the UK and so forth. So I think what bettors can look forward to if they've seen the work I've done over the last several years in this space is just engaging, entertaining, informative, and hopefully actionable content, both video and written, with the perspective of just how these events are being bet, in case that's part of your strategy for how you like to bet.
We love actionable content here at Vegas Insider. Okay, so we talked about how you're going to be doing more of the reporting side on the business, but we like to dabble in some gambling here, regardless of what your position is here at VI. So what was the first bet you placed as a bettor in your life?
Well, it was more than likely something as a kid or in high school or whatever. And it was probably just some sort of small thing among friends and so forth. The first thing that I had money on, again, not technically a legal bet, but also not something that the government prosecutes, is in high school. Is when I first started getting involved with the NCAA tournament brackets, which was, I'm going to guess, that was a lot of people's introduction to betting, especially in the mid to late 80s. Those things were really starting to get popular, the field of 64 and all that. And that's when I jumped on board and had a lot of fun with it. So I guess technically that was the first wagering activity where you had your own money and you're filling out a bracket and having a good time with everybody for a couple of weeks in March. My first, literally at the counter kind of thing, I didn't bet offshore at all, when I moved to Las Vegas in the mid 90s. I immediately each year placed a futures bet on the Denver Broncos. I'm from Colorado originally, and I'm a huge Denver Broncos fan. The Denver Broncos are my ride or die. I don't care. I have other teams that I am interested in, but that's the only team that I live or die by. So I started betting every year, and I still do that to this year. And in fact, I need to take care of this in the next couple of weeks here. Every year I make a Super Bowl play on the Broncos. So that was my first across the counter bet. And if I had to guess where it was the first year I moved here, goodness, it was probably at the Rio. It was probably at the Rio's, a little sports book at the Rio, at the Rio Hotel and Suites. At the time, that was a pretty cool place, and it wasn't too far from where my wife and I live.
So that would be a nice bet to place ahead of this season, Patrick. I think
the
Broncos could be a sneaky play this year. And like you said, you do it every year. So there you go. So congratulations ahead of time to your Super Bowl winner, Denver Broncos. So,
I hope so.
Speaking of your fandom here, We have a two-parter for you. What was the worst loss you ever suffered as a bettor? And what was the worst loss you ever suffered as a fan? I'm guessing the fan loss is going to be Broncos related.
Oh, the fan loss is absolutely going to be Broncos related. And it's very easy. I think I might get the year. I think it was the 2012 season with Manning at the helm. The Broncos were lights out all year long. But the Broncos, I believe, were the favorites for the Super Bowl going into the playoffs. They had a great season. They were at home against the Ravens, and they had that game won. The Ravens were looking at, like, I think it was third and 10, third and 15, something from like their own 30 or so. And the clock running down, and they're losing by 3 or 4 or whatever it is. I'm sorry. They were losing by, gosh, I got to remember this game went to overtime. I forgot about this. I believe it went to overtime. But ostensibly for the Ravens, it was 3rd and 70, okay? And the Broncos let somebody get behind them and make a big catch. And ultimately, the Ravens are able to come back. They're able to win that game. The Broncos should have been in the Super Bowl that year. Probably would have won against, I think it was the Ravens 49ers Super Bowl. You can't. How do you let anybody get behind you on like 3rd and what's essentially like, it's 3rd and 14 or whatever, but it's basically 3rd and 7. You cannot let somebody get behind you in that case. That was a gut-wrenching loss. The only one that even matches it is when I think the Broncos were probably among the favorites in, I think it was the 95-96 season or 96-97 season, and they let Jacksonville beat them in the playoffs on their home. Again, and both these games on Denver's home field. Just gut-wrenching losses.
All right, Patrick, now we need to know what your worst loss as a bettor was, the second part of that question.
So as a bettor, and it wasn't a bad loss necessarily, but it was something that I looked like I was going to get. And it was actually pretty recent, the 2021 Masters. Over the course of the pandemic, I got more intrigued by betting on golf. I think it's a really fun sport to bet. You spread out a few futures bets kind of up and down the odds board. Maybe you get somebody at 15 or 25 and add somebody in at 40 or 80 or whatever. And hope one of them gets there. And if any one of them gets there, you're probably free rolling for a couple of weeks. And if it's one of the longer shots, you're free rolling for longer than that. This was not one of the longer shots necessarily, but neither was it the favorite. I had Xander Schauffele in the 2021 Masters, and it looked like late, after 15 holes, it looked like, okay, Matsuyama's going to win this. I'm not going to cash my ticket, which, I was kind of resigned to. But then Matsuyama hits just a horrible shot. It was like way out in the woods somewhere. It was nowhere near the hole, and I'm just like, okay. If Schauffele just gets, it was, I think par 16, I think 16 is a par 3 there. But all Schauffele had to do was kind of safety up a little and get a playable shot in there. And he would have been in position to potentially win. And he hits it in the water. All he's got to do is, and he's seen what's going on. And it baffles me when this happens with golfers. But it does tell you how difficult a game it is physically and between the ears. He chunked it into the water, and so that allowed Matsuyama to finish it off and get the win. And I was disappointed there because I had a decent Schauffele ticket that would have given me a free roll in golf for quite a while. So that was the most frustrating. It wasn't a huge loss, but it was just like he opened the door, and Schauffele could have kind of played it somewhat. He would have had to be slightly aggressive, but not nearly as aggressive as he was going to have to be before he saw that shot. I don't know.
Well, hey, you lost, you moved on, and you're still here today to tell the tale.
Absolutely.
So, Patrick, what is one story from your reporting career that you're most proud of?
I think the work I'm most proud of is the work that I was doing in the lead up to the PASPA overturn, to PASPA being struck down by the Supreme Court in 2018. And granted, that's not actionable work. It's not necessarily entertaining when you're talking about the legal mumbo jumbo that goes into repealing something like that and giving sports betting the opportunity to become a states' rights issue where the states can decide what they want to do with it. But I felt like some of the content that I was putting together at that time hopefully really helped inform not only readers, but also some of the leaders, the legislators, the regulators, the folks in on gaming control boards and so forth about how this needs to be done to make it work. Nevada was the gold standard up to that point. I think in some ways, Nevada is still the gold standard, but in other ways, other states have taken over because they've learned from some of the things that Nevada could do better and doesn't yet. Hopefully it will. But I think some of that content hopefully really help pave the way for or lead the way into that decision, which is why now we have this great situation in the United States where you've got sports betting in more than half the states plus Washington, D.C., and it's rapidly expanding and becoming, a source of entertainment and enjoyment for a lot of people. And I think it'll continue to be that way. And I like to think that hopefully some of my writing contributed to, how that all came together.
So you mentioned you live in Las Vegas, the epicenter of sports betting, the epicenter of lots of stuff. What is the biggest misconception that people have Las Vegas, your home, for many years?
Oh, I've been here a long time. I raised 2 kids. My wife and I have raised our 2 kids here who are both now off the payroll. That tells you how long we've been here. Just recently did we get the second off the payroll. So we're happy about that. But that's the point. That's the misconception. We raised 2 really good quality kids here who did really well and are doing really well now on their own. It's not the Strip and Fremont Street and the glitz and glamour and all the potential troubles that could come with that, all the vices that you could succumb to. I live on a pretty normal street in a pretty normal neighborhood, and my kids went to pretty normal schools. If you walk around my neighborhood, you can't, unless you get to certain intersections, you can't even see the Strip. I could be on the Strip in 10 minutes. Okay. But where I live, it's except the time of year when it's like over 100 every day for months, you wouldn't even know you're in Las Vegas. The misconception is that you can't live here and have a regular life here. We lived here for a long time and have had a very regular life here. And the longer we're here, the longer we want to stay here, to be quite honest. We love it here. It's a fantastic city. Just a great place to live.
I've heard great stuff about Las Vegas from people that live there. So that just echoes the sentiment that I've heard many times. All right, Patrick, bonus question for you on the way out here.
Yep.
Is cereal a soup?
No, absolutely not. Cereal is way too good to be a soup. I am a huge breakfast guy. So I'm definitely coming out on cereal is its own category of a breakfast meal and absolutely not a soup. Absolutely awesome. If you needed me to make recommendations, it's, Cinnamon Toast Crunch is up there. Captain Crunch is up there. Probably a couple of others that there's many others that I could throw at you, but absolutely not a soup. Cereal is a nice way to start the day. Always start the day with breakfast, even if you sleep till noon. You won't regret it. Maybe even have breakfast for dinner sometimes. I've done that every now and then.
Cereal for dinner, sometimes called.
Maybe not cereal for dinner, but sometimes breakfast for dinner. 2 weeks ago, I went out to the South Point to the cafe, and they have this cinnamon swirl French toast that's to die for. And everybody else is with me. I'm with my wife, my son, my daughter. My daughter's boyfriend's there, and they're ordering dinner. And I'm like, "Do you guys serve breakfast all day, right?" The waitress is like, "Yes, we do." I'm like, "I'll take the cinnamon swirl French toast." Bang. Breakfast. I love it. Breakfast. It's not just for breakfast anymore.
Patrick, thanks for joining us, man. We're so excited to have you on the team, and we look forward to all of the amazing content you're going to be providing for us on the video side and the written side here this upcoming football season and beyond.
Oh, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it, too. I'm excited about it. Can't wait to get going, and hopefully people will be seeing a lot of my stuff soon. And obviously, check out all the other great folks and all their content at Vegas Insider. Lots of good people in this space.